This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Introduction. Isaac Newton is one of the greatest historical figures who will remain in the annals of history because of his numerous contributions to different scientific fields such as mathematics and physics. As Hall argues, generally, people have always regarded Newton as one of the most influential theorists in the history of science. Most of his scientific experiments and abstracts laid the foundation of modern-day scientific inventions, as he was able to prove and document different theoretical concepts. For example, his publication Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy is one of the best scientific reference materials in physics and mathematics. Newton is well remembered for his numerous scientific discoveries such as the laws of gravity, differential and integral calculus, the working of a telescope, and the three laws of linear motion. In addition to science, Newton was also very religious, because of the numerous biblical hermeneutics and occult studies that he wrote in his late life. Newton's early life, middle, and late life. Newton's early life. Newton was born to Puritan parents Isaac Newton and Hannah Ayscough in 1643 in the county of Lincolnshire, England. He spent most of his childhood days with his grandmother because his dad had passed away 3 months before he was born and he could not get along with his stepfather. As during his early years of school, Newton schooled at the King's School, Grantham, although it never lasted for long, because the passing away of his stepfather in 1659 forced his family to relocate to Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth, hence, making him drop out of school. His stay in Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth was short-lived because, through the influence of King's schoolmaster Henry Stokes, his mother allowed him to go back to school and finish his studies. As a result of his exemplary performance in the King's School, Newton got a chance of joining Trinity College, Cambridge on a Sizer basis. In college, Newton was a very hard-working and fast learner, because, in addition to reading the normal college curriculum materials that were based on Aristotle's works, he was interested in reading more philosophical and astronomical works written by other philosophers such as Descartes and astronomers such as Galileo and Thomas Hobbes. To a large extent, this laid the foundation for his later discoveries, because 4 years later in 1665, Newton invented the binomial theorem and came up with a mathematical theory, which he later modified to be called the infinitesimal calculus. The closure of Trinity College, Cambridge in late 1665, because of the plague did not prevent Newton from advancing his studies on his own, as he continued with private studies at home. Through his private studies, Newton was able to discover numerous theories, the primary ones being calculus, optics, the foundation of the theory of light and color, and the law of gravitation. Newton was very proud of his advancements, something that was evident in his words. All this was in the 2 plague years of 1665 and 1666, for in those days I was in my prime of age for invention, and minded mathematics and philosophy more than at any time since, when college reopened. Newton's middle life. Upon the reopening of his college in 1667, he was chosen as a minor fellow, and later as a senior fellow when he embarked on his Master of Arts degree. In 1669, he was selected to replace Professor Isaac Barrow, who was the outgoing professor of mathematics. His appointment gave him more opportunities of improving his early works in optics, which led to the release of his first project paper on the nature of color in 1672, after being elected to the Royal Society. This marked the start of the numerous publications that Newton released later, although he faced numerous challenges and opposition from one of the leading scientific researchers, Robert Hooke. Between 1670 and 1672, Newton also taught optics at Trinity College, Cambridge. This enabled him to do further research on the concept of refraction of light using glass prisms, leading to his discovery of refraction of light and the development of the first Newtonian telescope using mirrors. Although the 1672 emotional breakdown suffered by Newton was a major setback to his work, after recovering, he continued with his early research, which led to the publication of the Principia, a publication that elaborated on the laws of motion and the universal law of gravity. In addition to this, the publication elaborated on some calculus laws, primarily on geometrical analysis, and some more explanations of the heliocentric theory of the solar system. This publication was followed by another publication that was the second edition of the Principia in 1713. This publication provided more explanations on the force of gravity and the force which made objects to be attracted to one another. Newton's late life. His works in the Principia made Newton a very respected and famous scientist of the time, hence, the nature of the appointments which he received in his late life. For example, in 1689 he was selected as the parliamentary representative of Cambridge, one of the highest power seats of the time. As if this was not enough, in 1703 Newton became the president of the Royal Society, a seat he maintained until his death, and later on in 1704, Newton released a publication named Optics. The dawn of 1690 was a transitional period for Newton, as he ventured into the Bible world. As Hatch argues, during this period Newton ventured into writing religious tracts with literal interpretation of the Bible. Some of his writings included some works which questioned the reality behind the Trinity and the chronology of ancient kingdoms amended. Newton's scientific achievements. Newton was one of the most successful historical scientists because of his numerous contributions to different fields of science such as optics, mathematics, geography, and physics. In mathematics, Newton's discoveries included the binomial theorem of analytical geometry, new methods of solving infinite series in calculus, and the inverse methods of flux ions. In optics, Newton was one of the first individuals to perform the first experiments on the decomposition of light and the working of the telescope, because of his early discovery of separation of the white light. This enabled Newton to formulate the corpuscular light theory and discover other properties of white light. In addition to this, Newton also made numerous discoveries in physics and mechanics such as gravitational force, the centripetal force, the theory of fluids, and the revolution of planetary bodies. Further, Newton made numerous discoveries in alchemy and chemistry, most of which are documented in his numerous publications on different areas of alchemy, most of which were based on scientific experiments on matter. Conclusion. Although in his later life, his level of wit and his wit reduced, as Hatch argues, Newton continued to exercise strong influence on the advancement of science, because of his position in the Royal Society. Newton died at the age of 84 in 1727, leaving behind a legacy will always remembered in the history of humankind, because of his scientific works. Did you like this Isaac Newton, mathematician and scientist sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs.